Ed here on Focus Forward, and today I am really excited to have a good friend of mine, someone who's become a really good friend, Danielle Francis from Amsterdam in the Netherlands, one of my favorite cities. And here we are, and today we're going to talk about cold calling. Danielle wrote a fabulous book called The Cold Call Bible, which I'm really excited about. Fabulous. I loved it. And he's going to talk all about this book, what was the impetus for writing this book, and also how we can utilize the information within these covers to run our businesses more effectively and to sell lots. So, Danielle, how are you?
Thank you. Good. Thank you.
That's good. That's good. Excellent. Thank you so much for being here today with me. So tell me, I really have to know, how did you become the ambassador of cold calling?
Well, it was a path of 14 plus years. Well, I started off in 2000 with my cold call path. I started to work for an American firm in New York, where I started with the phenomenon of cold calling because I had no clue what that was. And I started off the really original, hard way, pounding the phone. And I was good at it. I don't want to brag, but I happened to quickly show the company I was working for a return on their investment in me. Now, over the years, I have developed the techniques and started to become more into the cold calling by thinking, what does the other party think when I call them? So empathy, thoughts. And that's where I started to develop. And in 2010, I started to write down what was in my mind, because I would be good that other people who make cold calls would use this information so they make better cold calls. And why I declare myself as the ambassador of cold calling is because I have this utopia in my head that the receiver of business-to-business cold calls, because that's what I'm focusing on, is going to have only cold calls that even if he doesn't going to do business with the person who's approaching him, he's going to hang up and say, wow, that was a nice call. And I would like cold callers to inform how they can achieve it.
Okay, so one of the things that we're curious about, we had a conversation yesterday that I found really interesting, and specifically, what is it that you consider cold calls? Because when I was having this conversation, we came up with a few different ideas about what cold calls are. So why don't you tell us, as the ambassador of cold calls, exactly what cold calls are?
Well, in my definition, a cold call is a call to in this case, a prospect, business-to-business prospect, that I haven't spoken to at all. And sure, I could have gotten his name from someone in his network, but in my mind, that is still a cold call, because the other person could tell me, could tell the person I'm on call, oh, really nice guy, Daniel, you need to speak to him, but I still need to make a cold call. He needs to like me too. He hasn't spoken to me. So for me, a cold call is really when I make an approach, a cold call to someone who I haven't spoken to.
Okay, excellent. So now you have a specific system or strategy that you use. So when you make those cold calls, people are obviously not hanging up on you. They're listening to you, and in some cases, they're responding well to you. So can you tell us what that strategy actually is?
Yes, of course. The process of cold calling is divided into 3 steps. And the most important part is in the first step, which is the preparation before you place the cold call. Because many people just want to pound the phone.
Okay.
Or are taught to pound the phone because their management tells them, make 70 calls a day. I rather go for quality calls instead of quantity. So what I do is, before I call a CEO, a learning and development manager, anyone, I'm going to look them up on the internet. I'm going to try to figure out this person did, in which sport club he's active. So I want to use all the information in my conversation. Maybe I'm not going to use it right away, but I'm going to use it in my head. Maybe I'm going to make it into a metaphor. So preparation is key. Then, of course, if I have done my homework well and I have done all the gather all the information, I need to then make and place the cold call. Now, if I call someone with no enthusiastic voice, what's going to happen? It's going to be a dead call. So the mindset that I'm with is that I love the product that I represent. Because if I call a phony voice and talk about the product I represent or the company I represent, you can do all the preparation, but you're not going to go across. My philosophy behind the cold call is no one is interested in talking to you. So that's the way I see it. If no one is interested in talking to you, and I will try to illustrate that, I always think the other person just spilled coffee all over his desk. He didn't get any this morning. The company just lost 2 major orders, and 15 other people called that person with a product they are trying to sell. Why is this person going to stay on the phone with me?
Exactly.
Well, future preparation, being enthusiastic, knowing what you're talking about. This way you can get in. And lots of salespeople like to talk about, this is a great product, buy my product. My philosophy is, don't talk like that. What does he require? Why do you want to talk? So think about how you can come across that person with your message, where there will be a question being asked, so-called buyer's questions. How does this exactly work? Tell me more. Now you got someone who's going to listen to you.
Okay, so a lot of people think that this is what they do when they're cold calling. But the cold call ends up either somebody hanging up on them, or don't call me back, or call me next week, or next never, whatever. So why don't you tell us, you're giving us information, but I'm not really seeing it. So can we simulate a cold call?
We could.
All right, so let's do that. I want to hear exactly what it is.
Okay, so
I'm really putting you on the spot now.
No, it's fine. I mean, I do live calls in front of 300 people on events, so I have no problem with that. So, and this is much more easier because I know that you're going to pick up. So let's say you are a sales manager because we need to. This is your role. You're a sales manager. I am going to sell my own trainings.
Okay, perfect.
Of my company. So you pick up, you're busy, and we're gonna play the role.
Okay, go ahead. Let's start.
All right, so I would come and I would get you on place and I'd say, hi, Laurie. My name is Daniel Francis, and if everything worked out, you have heard of my name before.
Right. Okay, hi.
Hi, Laurie. This is Daniel Francis, and if everything worked out, you've heard of my name.
Right.
Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. So you know that I'm the author of the Cold Call Bible. And as far as I understood, but correct me if I'm wrong, you make all the decision on all the training for your team.
Yes, I do. I make all the decisions.
Good.
All of them.
Do you know about my latest program, No More Mr. Nice Guy?
No, I didn't know about that.
All right. My question to you is, are you interested on how you could make, with your team, more effective sales, therefore more money?
Yes, I'm interested in hearing about that.
Okay. Well, I would like to invite you or come over and have a cup of tea with you and talk you through the program. Is this a possibility?
Yes, it sounds like a good idea, especially because I love tea.
You see, thank you. Well, together, what I do is I don't want to try to push it right away, but I want to try to see if there's any interest. Mm-hmm. And I like to connect on personal level. And if I can do that, that is like ultimate, that is perfect, but that's, of course, that needs to be in you as well. So a lot of people and a lot of cold calls, they are like to only send, I have a great program, you should really have it, because it's going to be the best for you. I try to always see, are there any possibilities? Am I able to create yes?
Okay, so when I answered the phone, it's really funny because basically kind of the way that we met was sort of a cold call as well. So, you know, I found it very interesting the way that you approached finding out about me as you were kind of soft selling yourself, which I thought was really nice. So one of the questions I have is, how much research do you normally do, or how much research did you do on me before you actually made the initial contact?
Well, with you, I was following you already for a while, so and it was pretty easy because I thought, like, okay, I really like to be on her show, and I need to find a way how she's gonna say yes, I'm gonna interview you. But usually it depends. If I am approaching the CEO of a major company as Oracle, I will do a lot of research, but I will also see who are people in the decision-making unit. I will try to already figure out how it works before I approach someone. And the reason I do that is because I want to make sure that the chances that I'm going to get that such a firm are going to be maximized, that he's going to say, fine, I will talk to you. Come on by.
So what I'm hearing you say is the first thing you do is you do research on the organization and maybe the structure of the organization, how they make decisions.
Exactly. I'm going to find out, is the budget at a sales manager, or is the budget at learning and development? And we're talking now, in this case, for trainings that I sell, as an example.
Okay.
But I'm also trying to figure out, who do I need to approach? And who do I need to befriend? Because sometimes I just need to be friends with the salespeople.
Okay.
Who will recommend me at learning and development? Because learning and development might hold the budget.
Okay. So there's so many different questions here. So when I'm hearing what you say, it sounds like a concerted effort between research, also your own PR, public relations, and your own promotion within.
It is, and
go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, and being enthusiastic, and and not giving up. Because what happens a lot of the times, and that's why I don't like number games, and that's why I don't like companies that think in, oh, we need to make 70 calls a day, is think in the fact that if someone says no, does that mean there is no opportunity? Yesterday, I was calling for a charity. Once a week, I call for a charity foundation to find funds at huge, large organizations. And although we're all in crisis, and they might say no, 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 I will try to figure out where I can get a yes. So what it is that I do is that I hear no in one department, but then I will figure out where there might be a yes in another department. And I do believe, also for business, because someone says no in an organization, it doesn't mean it's a definite no. And with that in mind, sure, and there's a CEO and a COO and a whole board that says no, yeah, you can kind of get it. But I want to hear it their mouth and not from people who think there's no chance.
Okay, so you're telling me just because someone says no, it doesn't really mean that it's a no. It just means basically you might not be speaking to the right person or trying to sell them the right thing. So there could be someone else in the organization that A, has a budget, and B, has a need for that. So you try to, so you're like a detective. So you're trying to find out who in the organization is interested or might be interested in that. Right?
Well, you're right. I mean, I like the effective, the detective idea. But yes, I don't let go quickly. You really, by the time I let go, it is because of the fact that I've heard, Daniel, you've chosen for a different party, or this has happened, but I need to usually hear that from the highest boss in a
Okay, so now in looking at that, how do you deal with gatekeepers? How do you deal with the people that are trying to protect their boss from someone just like you? How do you deal with that?
If I have the opportunity, I'd rather not deal with that.
So how do you go? How do you get around them?
Good question. Well, there are several ways. One, try to become friends with them. And I mean, you've heard that a gazillion times, and it's hard, but it's not impossible. And there are tough gatekeepers, but if you can become friends with them, they keep their word, which means they will make sure you get called back. But you better be nice to them and approach them the right way. I have befriended absolutely great gatekeepers who are very like, no, 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 but because of the way I have approached them, we became friends, and they have done their part, which means they made sure that the person I needed to speak to called me back. So there are that ways. And
so how do you make friends with the gatekeeper? Whoa, whoa, whoa. How do you make friends with the gatekeeper?
You try to be humoristic with them. You try to make them understand. You involve them in what you want to reach. I usually say clearly, I understand your job is to keep me away. My job is this and this and this. How can we work together that you are not going to be pissed off at me, but that I get my fair chance? And the way I approach these people usually gets me far, because they don't usually get such straightforward calls from people They always try to, yeah, but you're not the decision maker, and let me go by you, and blah, 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 blah. So really, you become friends. It's very important. And I don't know if you've seen the movie from, I think it's nearly 85, Wall Street. But there's a scene where there's a Charlie Sheen is bringing flowers to the gatekeeper that's really trying to get him out of the office. Now, I can't do that on every call. But what I can do is try to befriend her. Now that's one. But sometimes it costs me too much time. So what is it that I do? I will go around gatekeepers. Usually, I would try to find on LinkedIn other people in an organization, and I would call them, and I would say, hey, I was trying to get through to person XYZ. What did I do wrong? And usually these people, they think, oh, you dialed the wrong number, and they give you usually the direct action to that person. And you know what? It works. And I get the direct number, and I call these people directly. So idea. Extensions. And another way is to get help by these colleagues. So you don't get the extension, but they will transfer you. So they will go around the gatekeeper.
Yes.
So in other words, there are ways where you can get to the CEOs, the CEOs of this world without too much.
Excellent. Okay, so now let's go a little bit and talk, because you brought up LinkedIn. Let's talk a little bit about how you use social media to do your research and find your prospects and figure out, you know, how to go about approaching them.
Well, LinkedIn, I use it a lot. In LinkedIn, I can figure out who's on which position. Now, if you look at a company like Oracle, Accenture, huge companies, many people have the title sales manager. So the first thing that comes in my mind is they must have various segments. I see that clearly. One is industrial and the other one is for healthcare. So I know there are different people, but all these people are usually, they need to report to someone above them, the director of sales. So then I will figure out first through the lower layer, sales managers, how they are trained, who's giving them the training, is it for every department the same? And then I will approach the sales director once I have all that information. But I also, if I need to find myself new opportunities, I use my network. I go through the network and I'm gonna see who is actually friends with. And then I would call salespeople that I never know, I never met, and I would call them and approach them and say, I see in my network that you are friends of this person, and I like to discuss whatever I want to discuss at that moment. So that is a cold call, but I'm using the network. And you know what? Approaching people like that through LinkedIn has increased my fit and my targets on meetings enormously.
Wow, that's great. So just a question, all of this is included in your book, right? All these strategies for cold calling?
Everything is in the book.
Okay, so
Absolutely.
Now I want you to tell the audience how they could get a copy of the Cold Call Bible.
Well, what you can do is either search on Amazon facebook.com for Cold Call Bible, or you can go to my website, which is www.thecoldcallbible.com. And there you can also read my blogs. You can leave comments and tips. There are extra tips that I wrote down there, so you're welcome.
Excellent, thank you. So one question before we're going to say goodbye, I want you to give me 3 very high-level tips that anybody can do in their business right now using cold calls.
All right. 1, empathy. Try to think not for yourself what you want to reach. Think about what is the other party that I'm approaching going to gain out of this. If you have that answer and you found a formula, the other person will give you the chance. So empathy.
Excellent. The other 2 have to be really quick because we're running out of time.
Okay. Being enthusiastic, so do it with pleasure and with proud. And 3, have a great conversation. That means you need to create a situation where the other person will hang up, whether or not you're going to get business out of it, with, wow, that person that I just spoke to was a super nice person, and he represented his company or service great.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Danielle. It's been wonderful talking to you. I'm really excited. I want you to come back on the show again and give us some more information, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Laurie.
Thank you. Well, it's been wonderful show today with Danielle Francis, and I'm looking forward to him coming back again soon, and hopefully you'll tune in again to Focus Forward. Thanks so much, and have a great day.
Hey there, I am Robert Dempsey with your tips from the net, and today I just want to talk about 3 goals of content marketing. Now, I recently read a research report of B2B content, it was a report done by B2B Content Marketing Trends, and they surveyed technology marketers. And they came up, they ultimately found that there were 3 major reasons for companies using content marketing. Number 1 is lead generation. 68% of those surveyed said they were using it specifically for lead generation. 50% said thought leadership and market education. 39% said brand awareness. Now, the interesting thing about that, generally speaking, across the board, is that between 2011 and 2012, all of the numbers are up by almost double-digit percentages. So what this means is that a lot more companies, especially technology companies in this instance, are using content marketing for lead generation, thought leadership, and also brand awareness. So definitely something that I recommend, again, that you use for your business. Content marketing, hop on it. That's it for this week. I am Robert Dempsey, and I will see you next time for Tips from the Net.